9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's the Rocket Hour. Y'all are now tuned in. Time to hit the pick four that you'd love to win. If your money's coming slow, step on the faster track with your host, Ricky Pasternak. Let's go.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Rocket Hour. Episode 61 is going to cover some Preakness stakes action on Saturday. We'll talk about the undercard, and then we'll obviously get to the main attraction, which is the Preakness stakes, highlighted by Bobby B himself with 9-5 Medina Spirit and 5-2 Concert Tour. Aaron, good morning. I know you just told me you were up all night working on it. We're not going to get into why. But working on the guide, as you guys can see the background, it says Preakness Stakes. If I took us out, you'd see that, and then you guys can go on racingdudes.com. But kind of give us 30-second synopsis of what the guide's going to have to offer, what's going to be included, things like that, and more importantly, when it should be available for purchase.
Yeah, well, it is available for purchase right now. It's just the pre-sale. It's not actually out. The guide will come out today at some point. A couple things that the biggest thing really is the article, the BitLive Bankroll article to start the guide. That's the biggest thing that we're working on. It's not easy. This card is not easy to put together, something like that. So we've had to spend a lot of time on it. But listen, Preakness Day, Kentucky Derby Day, Pegasus Day, and the Breeders' Cup last year, all 3 days we cashed on that guide with a pretty good ROI. So we got that. You've got race-by-race analysis of the entire card. You got pick 4 and pick 5 tickets for the entire card, and then the consensus picks at the end. We gave our guys a deadline of right now, 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock Eastern time to get those consensus picks in. So we've got all those. We got to put those on there and finish it up. So full release of the guide probably going to be later this afternoon or this evening.
Yeah, I was a good employee. I got my request in on time. I sent it last night. Can't speak for everyone else, unfortunately. But we're going to get right into it. We're going to start with, we're not going to do anything on Friday. We're going to hop right into Saturday, and they do have a race right off the bat. And it's going to be right here, race 1. It's the Sir Barton Stakes. It's a small field. But Aaron, I think it's a pretty good field. We do have Hosier, who comes in at 2-5. When I first put this out, I didn't think Hosier should be that big of a favorite, but he does look like the horse to beat.
You really think this is a good field?
I think it's okay. I've seen a lot. First of all, for the record, the card's not very good. So let's start with the card as the C-. I haven't given up on Hosier completely. In terms of is he a graded stakes winner down the road? Probably not. But can he win some stakes races? I think he can. And this would be a decent start. So this field really, to me, is based on Hosier.
Yeah, this is kind of weird because they start the pick 5 in race 2. Did you notice that? So this is for a multi-race situation, almost kind of like a throwaway. I guess you can play pick 3, obviously, or a daily double. But I think this is one of the worst opening races for a card for a big day ever, maybe. I mean, only because it's you've got Hosier with Baffert to open up the Preakness card. He should win, and it's how good is that going to make you feel right off the bat at 10:30 in the morning? You're going to be pissed, or you could try to beat him. But the problem is, you look, it's I don't really know who can beat him. I went with Hosier on top. The King Cheek maybe can get out on the lead and take him gate to wire. Romp for Shug McGahee kind of improving, so maybe you can kind of go a different way. But I think Hosier is the most likely winner.
For the record, I do think he's beatable. I'm not sure if he's a single, even at 2-5. I don't think the morning line odds changed much for me, to be honest. I put my product together before the morning lines came out. But I do kind of agree. I think the King Cheek would be my second choice. I don't like Romp really at all. If we look at Romp's last race, he wanted a starter allowance at Aqueduct. At least the King Cheek did win at Parks, but that was a 3-length winner. That's where I prefer to go. And at least the King Cheek should be on the lead. Romp wants nothing to do with the lead in a 6-horse field. So that's where I would go as well. But I think Hosier should be your winner. Let's move on to the Chick Lang Stakes now. I think Aaron would agree. This race is a little bit better, as it should be. It's grade 3. This is another field of 6. I'll scroll down so you guys can see it. So we're going to skip to race 3 here. This is for 3-year-olds. It's sprinting. We're going to go 6 furlongs. Aaron, where did you go here? Jackson Traveler is the 4-5 morning line favorite.
I like the other Steve Asmussen. I like Mighty Mischief, the 2-horse for Steve Asmussen. I was there live and in person when this horse, and that's always fun to say in these days and times that I was actually at the track to see one. But Mighty Mischief won an allowance on Arkansas Derby Day, did it very nicely, and kind of the group I was with, we kind of nodded our head like, yeah, Mighty Mischief being a stakes next time out, kind of the next good Asmussen sprinter. So yeah, I'm excited for Mighty Mischief. I put this horse on top. Hope we get every bit of that 5-2 price. And that's not to say I don't respect Jackson Traveler, because I absolutely do, coming off a win in the Bachelor and a nice horse, but I just think Mighty Mischief is a little bit better.
I don't think I'm really using Jackson Traveler at all, to be brutally honest. I have that horse 4th. Now, I will go over the tickets again for the record, but I put that horse 4th. I'm kind of with you, though, Aaron. I'm kind of with Mighty Mischief. What has this horse really done wrong outside of lose over a muddy track? I'm not sure. For what it's worth, it does kind of look like it might be a merry-go-round race. Again, these smaller fields are kind of like, all right, we're not going to push each other. The traffic doesn't seem to be an issue. That's where Jackson Traveler poses a problem, because I think Jackson Traveler could easily just sit 2nd, and then if he's good enough. So I'm not entirely sure what to do with Jackson Traveler quite yet, to be honest. I'm highly considering using just Mighty Mischief and then Jackson Traveler. Even though I did put him 4th, I'm going to revisit this race. This race gave me a lot of nightmares just because I'm not sure. Like, to your point, though, right, where it's like, do I love one Asmussen over another? I kind of like Mighty Mischief more, but I don't really know who else can beat Jackson Traveler. Like, I'm not sure if Jackson Traveler is good. I'm just not sure who else could really beat him. Maybe Willie Boy. Willie Boy is a 6-horse in here. Does come out of a race at Tampa Bay Downs, but it does kind of look like Mighty Mischief and Jackson Traveler, but we both like Mighty Mischief. Let's move on to the grade 3 Gallarette. We're going to move on to race 6. We're not going to give you the sequences just because they're so all over the place, so we apologize for that. Of course, they couldn't start with race 1 with a pick 5. God forbid they did that. This is for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds, and upward, going 1 1/16 miles on the turf. The string of 6-horse fields continues for the 3rd straight race here. Aaron, we have a bunch of – I think this is a really quality field for starters, much better than the first 2 stakes races we talked about. But Mean Mary comes in at 6-5. Having said that, Mean Mary hasn't won since the New York last year at Belmont Park. Does that scare you at all? Obviously, the connections for all of these horses are fine. You either have Shug McGahee, Chad Brown, Graham Motion, Christophe Clement with quality riders as well. So who do you like in this one?
Yeah, I debated on 2 horses for a long time here. Flighty Lady, the 3, and Mean Mary, the 5. In the end, I just think the class of Mean Mary and the fact I think she's going to get the jump on Flighty Lady and Feel Glorious, if you like both of those horses. I don't blame you. They're nice horses. I think she'll get the jump on. I'm turning for home. I just kind of think Mean Mary is going to be tough to catch. I do think she wants a little bit longer, and maybe that is how you beat her here. But I just couldn't get away from the class. I think Mean Mary is going to be awfully tough.
Yeah, I kind of like Mean Mary also, but I'm not using Feel Glorious at all, and here's why. So we could talk about Mean Mary all you want, and I'm not going to because that's what I put on top. But this kind of has the feeling that, like, Feel Glorious wants to close, and I always find it interesting for turf runners that want to close in these smaller fields.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of seems like they're out of place when they're so close to the lead. I don't know if that makes sense. And because this field is so short, like, I would have been more comfortable using her had there been 10 horses. Like, I don't know if that really makes sense, but because it seems like this is another merry-go-round race, I'm just going to hope Mean Mary sits behind, I think, like Vigilante's Way, who probably should be on the lead. That's where I kind of just say, all right, Mean Mary picks him off. I think Feel Glorious is going to be last, and I don't know if she's really much better than Mean Mary, who should be 3 or 4 lengths. So I think when I'm looking at this race, I saw Feel Glorious as a complete throwout. For me. I'd rather use a horse like Tuned, Vigilante's Way, under Mean Mary. So that's kind of where I went in this spot. But Aaron and I are on the same page. Mean Mary should be the one to beat. For the record, on my end, if she can't win here, this is alarming because this is a field you're supposed to beat and do so, I think, by a couple lengths. So I think Aaron kind of agrees there. We do have another stakes race to get to, race 8. This one, luckily for us, we have 8 horses to discuss. We don't have 6. This is the James W. Murphy Stakes for 3-year-olds going 1 mile on the turf. We have a field of 8, but Outador, your favorite, has been scratched already. Aaron was kind enough to tell me that yesterday, so we're already down to a field of 7. I guess it's possible we're down to a field of less than that when the race goes off. Aaron, where are you starting here in race 8?
Yeah, so that was a big scratch for sure, and he was a horse that had early speed. But there are other horses in the race that have early speed as well, and I think that's going to make things pretty quick from a pace standpoint. It becomes a wide open race. I went with TD Dance, the 8 horse on top, just because I think this colt is the best closer in the race, and that was the big thing for me. I wanted a horse to come from a little bit off the pace. Where last race it looks like there's not any pace, so I'm going to want a speed horse. We're here, it's like, okay, I think the closers are going to get a setup. I think you could go some other ways if you wanted to, like with Chasm, maybe that horse might be able to close. Charles Chrome might be able to a bit, but I think TD Dance with Brad Cox on his side, I think he's going to be tough here.
So I'm with you with TD Dance, but I went with the 1 Indian Lake on top. Now that's 10-1. Mind you, I don't think Indian Lake is going to be 10-1 because we have these morning line odds and Outador 7-5. So with that being said, I assume TD Lake is probably going to be your favorite, right, Aaron? I would assume. Mm-hmm. So I think I can get Indian Lake right around. Would you take 8-1, 7-1 on Indian Lake? I think that's probably about right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because you figure the big favorite Outador, and then your second choice, I don't really know. That's where I think this gets really interesting. TD Dan should be your favorite when they break. Who's your second choice? I'm not sure, and I wouldn't be surprised. And this is the case I'll make for Indian Lake. Aaron and I talk about speed all the time. We have no idea what this horse is capable of on the turf. 0. But what we do know is I'm not sure if anyone's really going to go with this horse other than the 6 Arzak. If Arzak clears, which I'm hoping she does, that all of a sudden leads Indian Lake. He does. That leaves Indian Lake to sit right behind because none of the other runners have speed. I'm looking at this from a perfect trip perspective. For the record, I did use Arzak as well, but I really do like Indian Lake in this spot, and TD Dance should be the one to beat, especially TD Dance is the best closer, will probably be last in this field of 7. I think it's going to be a little quicker than the other turf race we talked about. So that's where I'm going on top, Indian Lake. I'm not all chalk here. What did you think of Indian Lake before we move on? Is that a horse you considered?
Yeah, I consider it. I think the big key is from this rail, get a nice break out of the gate, get to the lead, and let's see how far he can take them. I thought about him. I think if you're trying to spice up this race with a price, he's definitely one to use.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think, as far as I'm concerned, when you take a horse like Outador out, it all of a sudden becomes a lot more wide open. Okay, that's obvious. But what that also means is I'm not going to make a horse the same level as Outador. Like a lot of people would have used Outador and maybe one long shot. Like for me, it would have been probably Outador and Indian Lake. all of a sudden I'm not going to just use TD Dance and Indian Lake because I don't think TD Dance is the same horse. All of a sudden this race, I got to use a few more. And again, I'll look at it again come Saturday morning, but I think this is a race that you could really beat TD Dance, who Aaron probably will be too short of a price. I believe TD Dance is going to be 2-1, 5-2, and he's not that. I would have maybe taken him without a door in the race at that spot. Let's move on to the next stakes race. This is the Run Happy Skip It race. I think I said that right.
Yeah. Skip it.
Okay, skip that rate. For fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward, going 6 furlongs, a field of 8. Here, Aaron, where did you go? We have Steve Asmussen. We got a lot of good trainers in this race, but the big favorite is, no surprise, Irad Ortiz and Chub Wagon, the 5.
Yeah, and I think if you Chub Wagon got to be a must use. This horse looks awfully good. I do think Chub Wagon and the 6 don't let Sweet fool you, and maybe even the 4 Never Enough Time. I think they can kind of hook up and maybe create a chance for number 2 Casual to close late and have a shot to mow them all down. You look at who Casual has been beaten by in the last couple of starts, 2 races back. She was beaten by Kamari, who came back to win at Keeneland. And then last time out was beaten by, Edgeway and Frank's Roquette, 2 really good fillies, would probably be the favorite in this race. So I think it's a little bit of class relief for Casual. I think if she shows up and runs her race, she's going to be tough. So at 9-2, I'll take a shot with Casual.
Yeah, I put Casual in 4th. I do respect everything that Casual has done. To your point, that last race against Frank's Roquette and Edgeway is probably the best race anyone has on this paper, as well as Kamari, the race before over a sloppy track in the Spring Fever Stakes. But I do think Chub Wagon is much better. Chub Wagon kind of reminds me of that horse Australasia, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
That horse was running at the fairgrounds and then I believe came to Keeneland last time out and then still ran well. It's like, all right, this horse is dominating. Let's finally see what happens. And Australasia put them away as well. I kind of have the same feeling Chub Wagon will put them away. The difference is the morning line odds. I believe Australasia was like 3-5 in some of those races. Not the Keeneland race, but the race before. We're going to kind of see what Chub Wagon is now for, just for everyone's kind of thoughts here. In the last 3 races, Chub Wagon was 2-5. The race before that, 3-5. The race before that, 1-5. So if you feel confident in Chub Wagon, at least this horse runs well no matter the odds. There shouldn't be a bounce. If Chub Wagon is good enough, Chub Wagon will win. I don't believe you're going to get 8-5. I'm kind of thinking more even money, 6-5. That's my guess. You shouldn't get anything lower than even money. I think at that point, then the other horse's odds become something you want to get involved with. For the point that I want to talk about, though, I do like the one Club Car a little bit. This horse should be coming from well out of it. Aaron talked about the 6, Don't Let Sweet Fool Ya. And I think Never Enough Time is going to go as well. I'm kind of looking at Casual and Club Car and saying these 2 should be pretty much last. If we talked about Call on Mischief, Aaron, right? Earlier, I think it was race 1, Club Car rolled Call on Mischief and then faced Hibiscus Punch, who just ran as well in another stakes race. So I kind of think there's some class there. Obviously, Jose Ortiz is a big factor as well. So I'm going to take a shot with Club Car in 2nd. I do think Chub Wagon is the winner. Let's move on to the Jim McKay Turf Sprint Stakes. For 3-year-olds and up, we're going 5 furlongs on the turf. Do not blink. If you blink, you might miss this race. We got a big field here. Massive field. 13 horses. We could talk about this one for a while because there's a lot to go over. Aaron, I'll start with you, though. Where did you go on top in this 13-horse event?
This is going to be a hell of a race. I'm really excited about it. I went number 5 Hollis on top. I think Hollis gets a pretty big jockey upgrade to Irad Ortiz Jr. today. That kind of jumped off the page to me. If you draw a line through the Shakertown where he was dreadful, you look at all of his other races, he's really good. Turf or dirt, he can run on either surface. I think with Irad, I've got confidence that he's going to be able to judge the pace and put this horse where he needs to be, whether that be on the lead, if that pace, for whatever reason, isn't as fast as we all think, or just stalking if he needs to. I think I think, and I look at this as the Critical Way and Hollis. I like them both. Hollis is going to be the better price. I'm going to take a swing with Hollis at 6-1.
I'm going to take a chance on a horse that's going to be well out of it with a jockey who knows Pimlico better than probably everyone else in this race, and that's the 13 Completed Pass with Angel Cruz. I love everything you said about the Critical Way and Hollis, and for the record, that's who I put second and third, so it's not like I'm against those horses. Completed Pass is interesting, right, Aaron, because he only finished second behind Hollis a few starts back. This horse just kind of, I have a feeling that knowing Pimlico from the 13 post, obviously like this horse has plenty of Pimlico experience, this horse kind of fits. And I kind of looked at this one and I didn't really like any of the shippers. To your point about Hollis in the Shakertown, I just couldn't put that horse on top because that was so dreadful. The lasting image of that horse in the Shakertown did not put a good taste in my mouth. Now, granted, I would say the top 11 horses that beat him probably come to win this race. I'll give you that because that's an unbelievable race. If we just look at the finishers on that day, Bound for Nowhere, the Critical Way again, we talked about, like Kenthaka was in there and Primus was in there. Maybe not the top 11, but 5 or 6 realistically. I kind of like this horse, this 13 horse, and I just have a feeling something quirky is going to go up. And I'd be shocked if you had to take 7-2, to be honest. I kind of looked at this horse and said, I would want 5-1. I think 7-2 is a touch short. What did you think of that horse? Because this horse is breaking from the far outside with connections that a lot of people don't really know about.
I'm with you. I think this horse, I think I had him like third or fourth. I definitely think this horse has a big shot. And you're right. You've never really heard of these connections unless you play Indiana Grand. And I think that might scare some people off. That horse has got a ton of upside, no doubt about it. And, I'm with you. I kind of think the horse is going to be like 5-1. Now,
yeah, exactly.
Outside draw, nobody's ever heard of these people, Indiana bred horse. I think you're right. I think he's going to float up.
Yeah, exactly. And the other way, let's look at it the other way. I think if we scroll up here, I don't think Hollis is going to be 6-1. So we can go the other way there. We have 3 more stakes races to get to. It's the Maryland Sprint Stakes. We'll scroll down here to race number 11, Maryland Sprint Match Series Stakes. There's always a new name, it seems. 6 furlongs for 3-year-olds and upward, Aaron. These are the 3-year-olds that want to sprint. Again, we have another strong field here. Where are you going to go in this one?
Yeah, this was a head spinner really for me, is how I would describe it. You could go a lot of different ways. I ended up falling and thinking, okay, if number 5 Strike Power could get to the front, maybe he'll just take them gate to wire. So I'm going to give number 5 Strike Power the edge here in a wide open affair. I think you have to go as deep as possible in this race. Asmussen has got this horse running very well. You even last time out got 4th in the Count Fleet, but that was a much tougher race than this one is. He had to hold off horses like Whitmore and CZ Rocket. It just wasn't going to happen. There's not great horses to hold off here. They're all pretty similar. So I'm just hoping that Santana rides this horse hard out of the gate, get him to the lead, and see how far he can take him. I wasn't confident enough in any of the other closers, so I went number 5 Strike Power on top.
Let's just say if Claudio Gonzalez has a good day, then I'll probably have a good day because I'm going with on top number 10 Lebda. I'm with you on Strike Power. I think Strike Power is a horse you have to include, but this kind of has the feeling of a long shot to me, right? Like if you're going to take a short price in this race, good luck to you, because this has the feeling of what I would call a ticket buster. Like a lot of people can get knocked out in this race. And if I had the ability, I would bet a lot of these horses. But let's look at Lebda for a minute, right? I think this race is going to be one on the front end. You're right about Strike Power. Strike Power probably has the purest speed. Face Easy Rocket and Whitmore, both horses that would win in here, then beat Hollis last time out on the dirt. Lebda, is interesting because going to be breaking from the furthest away. I don't think Seven Nation Army will get anywhere closer. And I'm not sure where the other speed right away is. I think Special Reserve will go as well. This is going to be really interesting to see what JD Acosta does. Does he push Lebda or just kind of let Lebda float out there and run naturally? I'm going to take a shot here, and I don't think this horse is that much worse. The thing that makes him attractive to me is that he just hasn't won in a very long time, but he's been right there. That's where I think, we talk about 12-1 shots. That's where you get some value. You got to find a reason to why they're 12-1. Strike Power is the more attractive option. I'm with you. One other horse I wanted to mention was Locky. Locky just beat Lebda, so if I like Lebda, I do like Locky as well. I think that's pretty logical. Anyone else you wanted to talk about in here before we moved on?
Yeah, I was the same with Lebda. I just couldn't do it because it hasn't won in so long. But I am with you on Locky. I think that horse is pretty solid. I think that's a good alternative to the favorite for sure. I think Lebda is – I kind of wrote about him in the guide. He's that horse he's always there. He's always around. He just never can quite do it. You're getting the right price, though. 12-1 is a really good price on that horse. Not going to be shocked if he wins. Just thought in the end, I think Strike Power, Locky, horses that have kind of been winning, may be able to beat Lebda. Also, Special Reserve got beat by Flagstaff last time out. I mean, Flagstaff's probably 8-5 in this field. So Special Reserve also one I think you got to watch.
Yeah, that's I'm completely with you. That I think this, again, you can make a case for a lot of these horses, and if you have a strong opinion, that's maybe where you can play it as a win bet. Let's move on to the Dinner Party Stakes, Grade 2 for 3 year olds and upward, going 1 1/16 miles on the turf. This is the race I'm most looking forward to. It seems like these turf races this year have been more competitive and more intriguing. And we'll start here with a 7-5 favorite, Sacred Life, Chad Brown, and Javier Castellano. He also has Kuramata, an Irish bred, 6-1 with Irat Ortiz as well. Is Sacred Life the horse to beat?
Yeah, I think Sacred Life definitely is the horse to beat. The classiest horse in the race, I believe. Pretty good effort last time out, and now gets a little bit of a stretch out. And I think this field is weaker than the Maker's Mark Mile last time out at Keeneland, where he got third. He does kind of have that look of he just missed type of horse, So I'm not going to go. I wouldn't go all in, especially at 7-5. I don't think he's a single. I do think he's the most likely winner in the race. I'm very interested in the other Chad Brown horse, the 3 as well. And pace is going to be interesting here. I think some like it, Hot Brown on the lead could get dangerous as well. I think those are your 3 big players.
Well, that's where I went, right? And that's why
that makes sense.
Some like it, Hot Brown, just because I looked at this race and I said, who's going to run with this horse? The only 2 horses I came up with were horses I'm not considering, and that's the Flying Scotsman, not Beef. I guess it's just Flying Scotsman, and Bye Bye Melvin.
Yeah.
Good luck to those horses trying to keep up. And Sacred Life's going to be well out of it. Personally, Sacred Life, I probably want a little bit longer. The last time going 1 mile and a 16th beat Hawkish and Irish Straight on, I believe that was maybe Haskell Day. I don't know. It was August 9th. Maybe it was after the Haskell, whatever. This horse just wants a little bit longer. And Aaron, we talk about horses that want to be well out of it. He's going to have to pass what I think is a pretty slow pace, because if you're Bye Bye Melvin and Flying Scotsman, you're not going to push some like it, Hot Brown. Yeah, it's going to duel you into submission. I think this horse is very, very scary, some like it, Hot Brown, and that's why I put on top. But I think you can get away with the 1-5 or 5-1 combo if you're playing multi-race. That should be enough. You talked about the other Chad Brown, Kuramata. This is just too big of a step up for me. Is it possible she's still getting better? Sure. But if we look at the time form numbers, some like it, Hot Brown ran a 128 last year in this race. Maybe it's something about Pimlico that some like it, Hot Brown likes. But even this year, the one race was a 119 against Raging Bull Ride Comet. Is Kuramata going to run a 119? Is some like it, Hot Brown going to improve off of a 119? Those are big question marks. Sorry, Kuramata is it? That's a question mark for me. So I went pretty much 1-5 and everything. I did think the 8 by Melvin was just to be considered because of that pace factor as well. Let's move on to the final stakes race, the Preakness, led by Bobby Baffert for 3-year-olds going 1 3/16 miles. That's 9.5 furlongs. A little interesting of a distance. Not those races are a little bit rare. Aaron, again, we talked about it yesterday. It's Medina Spirit 9-5, Concert Tour 5-2. What are you looking to do in this race? How are you going to try to beat them or just play along with those guys?
I hate it. I hate this race so much. This was so unfun to handicap, and that, the funnest part of our job is to handicap races. This was not. It was awful. I don't know what Medina Spirit is going to do, and I think that's the key to the whole race, because on paper he certainly looks the best, and it's not just because of the Kentucky Derby. Like, forget about that race and just look at his other races. They're better than the rest of this field when we talk about races that's happened on the track. So I have a feeling he's not going to run that well. And if you take out all the other shit that's been going on, he's coming off 2 weeks two weeks rest. He is a horse that has a light frame. He is a horse that didn't ship out of California all year. And Baffert has even said, I don't know how he'll ship because he's kind of light frame. I think he just might bounce in this spot and not run that well. And then it really opens things up. Then you look at Concert Tour, and he's got the hype, sure, but he really hasn't done that much on the track as far as putting up a number that's overwhelmingly better than the rest of this field. So I kind of did a little mixture. I thought if Medina Spirit does come back and doesn't run well, Midnight Bourbon at 5-1, he might just kind of be the right price, the right horse, the right time, gets Irad Ortiz Jr. aboard. I'll take Midnight Bourbon.
So I came on here yesterday and I said, what do I do with these horses? Do I play one? Do I play both? Do I take one? I thought this was interesting. I'm going to play Concert Tour, and I'm just going to throw Medina Spirit out. I mean, I'm not confident in doing that. What I will say is these two horses are going to be on the lead, right? So you kind of have to pick one or the other. From a mere point of, I think everyone's going to take these two. I just think Concert Tour is more talented. Like, that race did not prove to me that he's more talented. Medina Spirit is more talented than Concert Tour. I mean, Essential Quality, we still say was the best horse in the race. But I'm going to take Medina Spirit, but I'm with you. I'm going to take Concert Tour. I'm going to leave off Medina Spirit, but I'm with you. I think Midnight Bourbon is a horse to potentially use. Crowded Trade, I put Medina Spirit fourth. I also am just rooting against this horse. But what did you think of Crowded Trade potentially?
Dude, I'm with you. I really wanted to put Crowded Trade on top. I thought about it for a long time. The reason why I paused, it's just like, damn, like, couldn't win the Gotham, couldn't outrun Wayburn. And I know he was really close, but it's like, need him to win. The Wood, it's like, I know he didn't get the trip he wanted, but still, Bourbonic, Dynamic 1, I don't know. So I'm going to use Crowded Trade. I've got him, sprinkled in stuff. I'm not against him. I couldn't get it as far as a win. I don't blame anybody for playing that horse to win, though, because I think the price is going to be right. I just couldn't do it. I think what's going to happen is, let's say the Baffert horses don't run well. I think Midnight Bourbon's going to be tactically positioned far enough ahead of Crowded Trade where he's not going to be able to catch him. So, and I think if the Bafferts do run well, Crowded Trade just doesn't have a shot. He's not good enough.
I think the biggest thing to talk about, I don't know if this is going to, again, a lot of money is bet on the Preakness, so it's really, really tough. Excuse me. I'm not sure if the odds are going to reflect people betting against Medina Spirit in terms of like a public perception, right? And what I mean by that, let me clarify for people who didn't understand. I'm not saying you don't understand. Let me just clarify that point. Are people going to bet against Medina Spirit just because of what's going on, just so they're not rooting for a Preakness? Or are they going to take another horse because they don't think Medina Spirit's that good? Unfortunately, we won't know the answer to that question. But it's going to be interesting I just don't know. Again, mind you, I wish I was on the live stream to get everyone's unfortunately, I won't be able to on Saturday. Maybe I'll try to play it in the background or something wherever I am. I won't be on it. I think that's an interesting point, and that kind of leads us, Aaron, into some Preakness topics that you said you have. We are not going to do any other tracks today just because we're busy. I'm leaving for Boston tonight. You got the guy to finish up and things like that. So we're just going to stick to the Preakness. So usually I'm the one who controls the show, but Aaron, we're going to throw it to Aaron. Aaron's going to give us a couple topics or talking points. Please chime in with your thoughts, comments, questions, and we'll answer them. We'll probably stay on for another 15, 20 minutes or so talking Preakness stuff. If there's anything on the undercard we missed, we didn't talk about the Arabian race, which is also the President's Cup. For my point, and then I'll let Aaron maybe talk about it. I don't know anything about these horses. I haven't watched an Arabian race all year. Yes, I did put them on my guide. Jared asked for them. They all seem like they run against each other. I really don't know. So if you have an Arabian question for this President's Cup, I'm not the guy to go to. I'm the first to admit it. In my product on Saturday, I literally wrote no analysis here because it's not even a part of multi-race sequences. So, Aaron, if there's anything you want to add to that race, I have no idea what these horses are. I know less about them than steeplechase horses.
I actually know a lot about them because I do watch all the tracks, and so they run, Sam Houston, Lone Star, Delaware Park. That's where you're going to see them most of the times. Patty's Day won this race last year. I think has a good shot to do it again. He's coming into the race really, really well. He won last time out down at Sam Houston, so I think he's won 3 in a row. He's the one to beat for sure. I do think he can be beat. Uptown Sandy Girl is a pretty nice horse. Quicksand AA, not a bad horse either. Hard knockers, but Patty's Day definitely for me is one that you need to look at. And that's not saying much, 8-5, but I think that horse will be tough. All right, Preakness. Let's get back to it. I want to put this comment up first. The Baffert horses are going to be top 2. I mean, yeah, if you think they're going to show up and run their normal races, they're going to be top 2. It's hard to argue that. And also they can kind of control the pace. My standpoint is this: when you're talking now, multi-race is different. You can just put those two and try to get value around them. When you're talking a race-by-race bets, you got to take a stand against one of them at least, right? And unless you're just going to pound the Bob Baffert Exacta, you got to take a stand against one of them, and that's kind of what we're going to try to do. But I get it. I mean, if you think they're going to show up and run well, then they're probably going to run one too. So, all right, question for you on the Preakness, kind of an overarching question. What is the best result for horse racing? Not for your bets, not for my bets, not for anybody's bets. What's the best result of the Preakness for horse racing?
Medina Spirit wins by 5.
Really? Explain.
Okay. Now, not all publicity is bad publicity. Now, the saying is not all publicity is good publicity. But I'm going to change that for this reason, right? And maybe I'll be against the thinking, the majority here. I said it yesterday. Thank you guys for tuning in again. If you did tune in yesterday, I guess we said something right. If Medina Spirit goes on to win, and maybe not by 5, because at the end of the day, if you win by a half a length or you win by 40 lengths, it doesn't really matter in terms of the Triple Crown aspect. You're still moving on if you're a Medina Spirit. If horse racing and the sports community gets 3 more weeks to have this Bob Baffert story going on, it's pretty good for the sport. Now, I'm going to break it down into two sectors. Usually on Preakness Day, ESPN, CNN, X, Y, and Z, they're not talking about it unless the Derby winner won. That's it is what it is. Whether you believe that or not, that it is what it is. Maybe they'll show you the stretch on ESPN. They'll show you the final 15 seconds or so. Not TVG, not Fox Sports, whatever. But if they're going to have something else to talk about for 3 weeks, and they're going to be cameras at Bafford's house and on this horse and X, Y, and Z, I think it's great. Because, Aaron, I hate to be cynical here. No one's going to care about that split test except the horse racing community if this horse loses. I'm not, and that's the for people that aren't horse racing fans. Because by this point, we've seen time heals all. In 8 weeks, or maybe it's like 6 weeks at this point, people are going to say, oh, yeah, when it's almost, July 4th. Yeah, you remember that Derby horse Baffert had? Yeah, he lost. Oh, but he didn't win the Triple Crown, right? No, all right, yeah, we'll see you guys next year. If this horse wins, it's going to be talked about. And I want this sport talked about more and more by the general public. So I'm going to say Medina Spirit for all of those reasons, which I think are all logical and all are true. Those would all happen. I want Medina Spirit to win from that aspect. I'm rooting against Baffert. The worst thing would be if Concert Tour wins, because then we have to talk about Baffert, but it's not the horse that people want to talk about. So from a money perspective, yes, I want Concert Tour. From a public perception, I want those random texts from people I haven't heard from in 2 years to say, oh, Medina Spirit going for a Triple Crown. That's where I'm at. Yeah, right. I want the sport talked about as much as possible. And, that's the way it's going to get done. If you're rooting against Medina, because again, Aaron, the more, someone keeps poking you in the shoulder, you finally make a change. If the issue stops poking you, you don't do anything about it. If Medina Spirit loses, we might not get a governing body. Maybe we don't get a commissioner, which we don't think is going to happen. But, something like that. If we want change, we need this to be a persistent issue. If he wins, it stays persistent for 3 more weeks. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. So I don't know if you agree or disagree, but at least I think my thought process is logical.
I agree with your thought process 100%. And I think the unique thing about it is there's different groups of people that come into play here because the general public is so far different than the horse racing community. For the horse racing community, I think him winning would be bad. We just want to see somebody else besides Bob Baffert win this race. But you're right. General public publicity for the sport, good or bad, Medina Spirit winning would be huge. And it would cause 3 weeks of buildup to what maybe could be possibly, maybe it's not, maybe it is. We don't even know if we're going to have the split sample before the Belmont. Insanity, right? So it would be pretty wild. I agree. I don't think it'd be the worst if he won as far as publicity goes. Okay. I'll go ahead and just agree. I'll go ahead and agree with you here. Now, what is the worst result for horse racing?
Concert Tour.
I agree.
Well, yeah, I already kind of said that because that's not the horse that people want to talk about. You lose. What happens is the people. Okay, I'm going to break it down into 3 aspects of people that are going to watch this race. You have the people that really have no idea what's going on. They only know the 2 names of Bob Baffert, Medina Spirit, and the Kentucky Derby. I think everyone in this country knows the Kentucky Derby. Then you have the aspect of, okay, this has become an ESPN, a CNN, a Google, a Yahoo, CBS Sports, whatever news channel outlet, Twitter, whatever news outlet you use. Those people are now involved because they feel like they want to go tell their buddies, their friends, their significant others that the story's out. And then you have the horse racing community, the people that are watching every week. The horse racing community will just see Bob Baffert, and they're going to be like, great, now we have 2 Bob Baffert winners, 2 separate ones, and we're not going to get anything solved because by the time this test comes out, no one will be talking about Medina Spirit anymore. Because Medina Spirit, honestly, if he loses, he will not be running in the Belmont. So no one's going to be talking about it. People forget that. If he loses, he won't be there. Then you have the general story people where it's like, all right, it's not really a story anymore. We'll maybe talk about it again once the test comes out. And then you have the people that really don't know anything where it's like, all right, we don't hear Medina Spirit anymore. And Bob Baffert won with another horse I've never heard of. Okay, story's over. Concert Tour is the worst thing. because at least no group is happy then. The horse racing group's not. You have the two middle groups, or you have the middle group and the group that doesn't care, and then the horse racing group's not happy. So at least if another horse wins, the horse racing group is happy. If Medina Spirit wins, you have two groups that are happy. And in my book, I'll be in the horse racing group. I'm still kind of happy because this sport has to be talked about. So I think Concert Tour is clearly the worst one because he's the other Bob Baffert horse that no one knows about outside of the horse racing community.
It would be awful. It would absolutely be awful. It would feel awkward almost that it's like really like he just has another horse that won. Like that's insane to me. I would feel sick. I don't know how I'm going to feel Saturday. I feel this is the weirdest I've ever really felt leading up to a big race because it's just different. Like working on the guide and it's like we're putting everything into it, but at the same time it's like. Not that I feel like we're not prepared because I'm definitely prepared. I'm probably over prepared, but it's like you just don't have that excitement. It feels like we're getting ready to run. Like I had more excitement for the Peter Pan last weekend than the Preakness, and it's just because of this cloud over the sport right now. Okay, I think this is a huge question. Up the backside, forget about the first turn. Things can happen when they get to the backside. Concert Tour, Medina Spirit, Midnight Bourbon, who is in front?
I'm going to say Concert Tour's in front.
Yeah.
I just think he's if you know what he kind of reminds me of, and I'm not that old, so keep that in mind when I say this. When you go play basketball at the park and you're there with one other person, right? And there's 10 people. You look at everyone, you don't know who they are. It's you and you're picked, you volunteer to be the captain. You look around and you say, do you want the 5'9" shrimpy guy or do you want the 6'5" guy who just showed up, put on his shoes and started dunking 4 times in a row? Kind of look at Concert Tour and I say, yeah, he's the most talented one. And if I had to pick, if I just went to the barn and looked and went by his speed figures, that's the horse I want. Now, having said that, I don't know how much Bob Baffert's gotten involved, but it would look pretty damning in this situation. Now, it is racing. If these two horses just sat side by side and nothing was happening, that is part of the sport, though, right? We've seen that all the time where one's a blocker. But at the end of the day, these horses are good enough where it's like they realize when they're on the lead, like a Concert Tour's on the lead, like he's out there to win. I don't think this isn't like a race where I could stick my arm out and start fending for someone else. So I do think Concert Tour is the fastest. It'll be interesting, and here's my prediction. I don't know who it's going to be. Someone, a long shot, is going to go with these front two. Guaranteed. I don't know who it's going to be. Someone is going to go out. Someone is going to try to test these two, or at least put some pace pressure because we can't see. Aaron, we talk about it all the time. We try to talk about like race previews and how we think it's going to play out. It almost never plays out the way we just lay it out on paper. So I say a long shot just gets aggressive, gets brave, and goes. If you're a horse like Ram breaking from the rail, what are you going to do? You're going to sit sixth? Is that going to get the job done? I don't know. I try and see what happens because you're probably going to finish sixth anyway, to be honest. So, or Keep Me in Mind won't do it, but maybe like a Crowded Trade gets aggressive. Like just someone gets aggressive and says, I'll push as much as I can and sit that trip. So I'm hoping that happens. In the back of my mind now, I'm kind of rooting for Medina Spirit because I'm happy either way. For my tickets, if I have Concert Tour and long shots, I'm okay. If Medina Spirit wins, then I think it's great for the sport because so many more people get involved. And again, we're talking about it for 3 more weeks. So that's where I'm at. Yeah,
I don't know that I've ever went into a race not knowing who the blocker is, for Baffert. Like, it's like, surely one of them is, but you would think Medina Spirit, even though he has experience as the blocker, is not the blocker after winning the Kentucky Derby. So you would think it's Concert Tour. But I'm kind of with you. It's you also look back, and it's like, if you look back at all of as you call him, Bobby B's comments, he hates, like, he's never said a good word about Medina Spirit until after he won the Derby. but he always has said good things about Concert Tour. So it's like, I think he believes Concert Tour is the best of the two. On the track, it hasn't really played out that way, or maybe it was until that Arkansas Derby effort. The pace is definitely interesting. As a Rombauer fantasy owner, I would love to see him get a little closer to the pace, because I think he just runs the same speed all the way around. So just get him closer, and maybe those horses will come back to him.
Right, exactly. If you're a Rombauer, right, and I'm looking here at the PPs. If you're Rombauer, why wouldn't you be aggressive? Because you're not going to pick these horses off late. See, that's the thing that people don't understand. Oh, let these two battle it out. They're not going to battle it out. That's just not. And I know Rombauer doesn't have any early speed, but one of the things I've always said, like his best race, Aaron, was last time out probably. Granted, he did win a maiden on the turf, but his last race in the Bluegrass, he was forwardly placed and lost to two horses that were better. Okay, he finished third. He properly finished third. He was the third best horse in the race. He finished third.
Yep.
Can you do that again? I don't see why you can't, because in my book, Essential Quality is better, and I'm not sure Highly Motivated is not better than most of the horses in this group either. So, yeah, go get aggressive. Flavien Prat is going to pick up the mount for the first time. Florent Giroux was aboard in that race. Go be aggressive. If you're Midnight Bourbon, go be aggressive. Crowded Trade, go be aggressive. Because if these two are just sitting there to a 24-2 first quarter, you're not passing them. So I really hope, for the sake of the race itself, someone goes and gets aggressive. We'll talk about one final question before we go. What's the right punishment for Baffert? For me, if this split test comes back positive, I don't think the Triple Crown has anything to do with anything in revolving his punishment. If he wins the whole thing and the split test comes back, obviously you strip the horse of all those races. I think a 6-month suspension from that time. So it's going to be around the Belmont, maybe a little bit after. You're suspended through the rest of the year. Very, very simple. That's including, Joe Schmo on the street. If you want to list him as a trainer, that doesn't count. You want to go list the 8-year-old girl selling lemonade outside of the track as a trainer, that doesn't count. You are no longer associated with your horses. The owners only give him horses because he's not suspended. If he's suspended, the owners are not just going to keep writing checks to no one for 6 months. They will give their horses to someone else. With that being said, that would be sufficient, or you are no longer for the 2022 campaign, you are not allowed to run any of your horses in the Triple Crown. If that were to be enacted, not one owner with a promising 2-year-old would give their horse to him, because that's why they get horses. So either one or the other. I prefer the first one. You put that out of sight, out of mind. It's too far down the road. Immediately that comes out. Every track gets together. We are going to suspend you till the end of 2020. So that's what I prefer, if it comes back positive.
I think the problem and where people are going to go nuts is, I don't think you're going to be able to get every racetrack to have a uniform policy on this. I just can't see Santa Anita and Del Mar doing much to him. And I think it'll be a situation, if they do, Jimmy Barnes will be the trainer. He kind of is the trainer anyway. That's my biggest takeaway of this whole thing is, I think Bob is kind of just the guy for the media. Like, I don't really think he knows day-to-day what's going on. And honestly, I mean, I think he knows. Let me backtrack. I think he knows what's going on, but I don't think he's a hands-on trainer. Like,
it's the Jim Boeheim effect.
Exactly. I think he's kind of a figurehead for that barn. I think Jimmy Barnes becomes the trainer when Bob Baffert gets suspended for whatever amount of time it is. He takes over. I don't really think they're going to miss much of a beat. I would say most of the owners that he has kind of knows that Jimmy can handle it. And I don't think people are going to be happy with this. And it's a huge problem. I don't really know what what we can do, because I just don't think all the tracks are going to be on the same page with this, unfortunately. But I'm with you. I think 6 months at minimum.
Well, yeah, and that was the question, right? What is the right punishment, not what's going to happen? So that's what I think the right punishment is. For the record, if anyone's listening that has any ties to these tracks, which is Naira, out west, maybe not Oaklawn as much because they don't pick up again until 2022, Florida maybe, or anywhere, Kentucky, you should really be talking about this now. And you have a press release ready to go the minute it comes out. Don't be reactionary. Be proactive. Be ready to go. Have your answers ready to go. If the split test comes back inconclusive, have a press conference for that. If the split test comes out positive, have a press release ready to go for that. I'm not a PR manager, but you should really be talking about it now, because if you wait till then, you're gonna pull a Bob Baffert, which I'll close out by saying you're gonna say the wrong thing, or you're gonna sound incompetent. Don't be either one.
Yep.
Ready to go. If you come out with a succinct thought and a succinct process, at least we could say, all right, you were prepared. Because Bob Baffert wasn't prepared. Didn't seem like Churchill Downs was prepared, even though they seemed to rectify the issue as best as they could after the fact. Just be ready to go. There's no sense in being unprepared here. If you're over-prepared, great. If you're underprepared, you'll look really poor. Get it together. There's more than enough time for these tracks to come together. Naira calling Santa Anita or Del Mar. Hey, this is what we're thinking. Are you guys on board if this comes out? No, we're not. Yes, we are. Talk it out. Kentucky, Churchill Downs, I don't know, Ellis, Turfway, whatever. What do you guys think? X, Y, and Z, and go on and see what people are thinking. Get this together. Get it ready to go, because the answer is going to come out. And if we don't hear a press release, probably starting with Churchill Downs, that's probably where it would start. But the other tracks as well, if it's positive. If it's negative, then the other tracks don't have to get involved. If it's positive and we don't hear anything from Naira, California, other tracks in Kentucky, the Kentucky Racing Commission, if we don't hear anything, it's going to look really, really bad. So my advice to everyone who is involved, get it together, ready to go. Be over-prepared. There's no harm in being over-prepared.
Yeah, I'll one last point, and then we'll get off of here. Big swelling of we're going to skip the Preakness, boycott the Preakness, all this stuff on Twitter. We'll see what the handle is. I don't know if I really believe all those people are going to stay away from betting, but we'll see. They might, and we'll see what the handle is. I think whatever the handle is here, these tracks are going to kind of study it and say, uh-oh, this might actually hurt our business. And I think let's not be naive. That's what it's all going to come down to. Is this going to take money out of our pockets if we don't do something? This will be a really good case study for all these tracks to say, wow, if the Preakness is down like $5 million, let's say, we better do something.
I completely agree. At the end of the day, without hurting someone or being illegal, it comes down to the bottom dollar, the bottom line.
Yep.
If they don't have the bottom line where they want it to be, it might force other tracks to do the same. So we'll see. Force Baffert to race at Fauner Park. I don't watch Fauner anyway. I know Aaron does, but if he runs there, I won't be watching. But with that being said, that's going to do it for us. We stayed on a little bit longer than we anticipated, but that's okay. Still short for us, all things considered. That's going to do it for us, though. We didn't get a chance to talk about any other tracks today, but that's fine. We got a lot going on. I got to start packing for Boston. Aaron's got to finish this guide. I'm trying to get ahead of all my work so I don't have too much to do over the weekend. Just going to enjoy some racing and getting away for the weekend. You can check racingdudes.com. For all the information you need. Preakness, the guide should be out hopefully later this afternoon or tonight. I'm sure they're putting the final touches on it. Last week was, again, I put on Twitter, the Rockets brought some comfort to people. If you were able to play, brought in like $3,900 worth of winning tickets last week amongst all this scrutiny, especially on Sunday. Brought in like $1,400 on Mother's Day. So hopefully some people, spent their money wisely, got their significant others, their moms, their aunts, grandmas, some nice gifts with your winning ticket. So check that out. Special post times today, by the way. Gulfstream is normal, 12:45, but Churchill Downs is going to start at 5. Belmont's going to start at 3. Just keep that in the back of your mind. So if you get off from work a little late afternoon, you want to leave work a little early, play the ponies. We always encourage it. That's going to do it for us. Aaron, Jared will be on tonight, I assume, at some point doing blinkers off. Aaron, do you have a time on that at the moment? 8, 9? Do we know?
No.
You never know. Basically, just follow everyone's Twitter feed and you'll get a notification. It's probably going to, my guess, I'm going to go with 8:30 Eastern time. That's my guess. I don't know. I won't be listening, unfortunately, tonight, but that's my guess, 8:30 Eastern time.
Yeah. It's a 3-show day for me. I got to do, I've done this one and then Magic Mike show and then blinkers off. So I know the Magic Mike show will be on at 5:30 Eastern. I do know that 100% for sure.
Yeah. And now they'll be covering, I assume, the late pick 4 or 5 at Pimlico as well. So basically all the races that we talked about. Maybe you'll get some more Arabian coverage there because he didn't get a lot here, but you'll definitely get at least a late pick 4 there, I'm sure. Shout out to Magic, who's still taking care of dad duties at home on the West Coast, and then blinkers off whenever Jared feels like putting it together. That's, again, I'm going to go with 8:30 Eastern time. That's my guess. And then there'll be live streams, I'm guessing, tomorrow and Saturday. Definitely Saturday. Tomorrow, I guess, is up in the air, but just follow all of Racing Dudes, their Twitter account, YouTube, things like that. We'll all have it streaming if you want to go to mine as well. I won't be on it, but it'll be live if you guys want to tune into it, get some coverage as well. There's not too much going on around the country outside of the Preakness, so I'm sure that's what they'll be covering in depth. Maybe you'll get an occasional Belmont update here and there on the stream, but that's what you could look forward to this week. Plenty of action content. Check it out at racingdudes.com. That's going to do it for us. We have a lot to get to. Again, the guide should be out later today. Great information. They've now cashed, I think, on 3 straight massive guides. There are consensus picks as well. I did put my Arabian picks. I'm telling you now, do not look at my Arabian selections because I have no idea what it is. I'm guessing, other than Aaron, a lot of people don't. So don't take it to heart. But you do have the winner of last year's President's Cup as well. Maybe that's just one word. That's the way to go. But that's going to do it for us. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. We'll be recapping on Preakness. Maybe we'll have some more Bobby B updates. And we'll see if Medina Spirit is the villainous horse, if he wins, or if it's Concert Tour, the other villainous Bob Baffert, or a long shot. But that's going to do it for us. We'll see you guys next week, bright and early, 11 a.m. Good luck playing today, this weekend, whatever your plans are. Take some time out to watch the Preakness, whether you want to root for or against the Baffert horses. I'm sure you'll have fun doing so and try to make some money in the process. We'll see you guys next week. Take care, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you bright and early next week.